Dear Judge Mrazek, I'm here today to represent my brother, Eric Eugene Ritchins. His life was taken in a senseless act of poisoning on March 3rd, 2022. His wife, the defendant, has been accused of committing this crime. If she is found guilty, she has committed the ultimate act of betrayal. Since Eric's death, it has come to our attention that Kouri took out multiple life insurance policies on Eric without his knowledge. It appears that she forged his signature on various documents, assigned herself as Eric's durable power of attorney, inappropriately diverted money from his business to herself, and assigned herself as beneficiary of Eric's portion of our mother's retirement account. I should also not forget to mention the multiple life insurances she has taken out on the boys. Her most recent business venture was authoring a children's book about how to help grieving children cope with the loss of the death of a parent. In this book, she had the audacity to use the boys' real names and even use their last family portrait. Because of her actions, there has not been a day that has gone by we have not lived with paralyzing anxiety and fear, worrying for the boys' lives as well as our own. I may be naive, but I never knew evil like this existed. If Kouri was in fact willing to kill Eric for money, who's to say that what she will not do? Who would be next? Kouri was in a desperate financial situation when Eric was killed, and that situation seems even worse now. We understand that she has defaulted on loans and is already a defendant in other lawsuits based on her financial misdeeds. I am truly concerned that she will stop at nothing to dig her way out of the problems, including murder. She seems devoid of moral sensibility, and there is no telling what she will do if she is released. Judge Mrazek, her fate lies in your hands. Please do not allow Kouri to use the fraudulent life insurance proceeds to get out on bail. That would be morally reprehensible. Please do not give Kouri the opportunity to hurt Eric's 3 boys anymore. They have lost enough and have been through enough. Since Eric's death, we have learned and unfortunately are continually reminded that Kouri is desperate, greedy, and extremely manipulative. If she gets out on bail, I will be afraid not only for my own life and those of all of my family, but most importantly for the lives of Eric's 3 sons. Our family has already suffered enough. Please do not let Kouri out on bail where she will be a risk to do further harm. Please protect what Eric put his life on the line for, his 3 boys.
But the circumstances of this case weigh soundly against granting pretrial release of any kind. Clear and convincing evidence the defendant would pose a substantial danger to the community if released on bail.
This is a case that has gripped the nation. Kouri Ritchins has been charged with fatally poisoning her husband, Eric Ritchins, then writing a children's book about grief. The audacity. Now, as you just saw, the judge denied this woman bail because, as the victim's sister so eloquently stated, Kouri is desperate for money, she's greedy, she lacks moral sensibility, and for some strange, odd reason, she has multiple life insurance policies on her 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 10-year-old, or something like that. I mean, what is she planning? So, as we already heard and saw, if you've been following this story, before she killed her husband, she got multiple life insurance policies. So what was she planning to do with these multiple life insurance policies on her kids? Scary stuff. So I applaud the judge for not getting this woman bail because clearly something is wrong with her. And like the sister-in-law said, the children's lives just in fact may be in danger. Anyway, special shout out to Grizzly True Crime for breaking the story about no bail first. Also another special shout out to Plunder, a sister who has a true crime station, who I believe so far is the only YouTuber that actually got a copy of this book because Amazon took it down, Barnes & Noble, I'm not really sure what's going on with that, but yeah. But anyway, based off of Kouri's Google searches, it seemed like the motive of this crime was greed and money. One of her Google searches was, is the death certificate says still pending. Will the insurance company still pay you? Another one of her searches was about fentanyl poisoning. How much poisoning does it take to overdose on fentanyl? And according to the coroner's report, that is exactly how her husband died, from large dosages of fentanyl.
The state has offered substantial evidence that defendant procured fentanyl on more than one occasion, and on at least one occasion deployed that fentanyl to cause the death of another person. As a general matter, an individual who is capable of this kind of decision-making is not a good candidate for supervision in the community.
You know what? Let's start from the beginning. Let's start with her first TV interview after she wrote the book. This is the interview, or a clip of the interview, that got her on the police's radar.
So my husband passed away unexpectedly last year. So it's March 4th was a 1-year anniversary for us, and he was 39. It completely took us all by shock. And we have 3 little boys, 10, 9, and 6. And, you know, my kids and I kind of wrote this book on the different emotions and grieving processes that we've experienced last year.
Right now, you know what disturbs me the most about this clip, however, is how chillingly convincing she is. This video is making me feel that maybe I need to step my game up, because she would have completely conned me. I mean, I don't know if she's a sociopath or what, but I am totally convinced of everything this woman is saying. I don't know if it's white privilege, you know, white woman said it, so, you know, there it is. Or is it because she's beautiful? You know, she is a beautiful woman, and her beauty is disarming. So, I don't know, but she's fooled a lot of people. I just think that her cadence and her breaths, as she is feigning this sadness and grief for her husband, it just is appearing to be very authentic and very genuine. You know, I mean, I'm like, oh God, this poor lady, and what she suffered. And the whole time, according to the Utah detective, she could be lying, you know, you're innocent until proven guilty. But if you ask me, the Academy Award goes to Kouri Ritchins, because this is a fantastic actress. So let's get into it. Go grab your coffee, because I sure enough want mine. This is the case that I would have to say captured the nation. On May 8th, 2023, 33-year-old real estate agent and mother of 3, Kouri Ritchins, was arrested and charged with aggravated murder and 3 counts of possession with intent to distribute a controlled substance. And it's really unfortunate, because her kids, it seems like she didn't even really care about the impact that the death of the father was going to have on her kids. I lost my father in my 30s. I couldn't imagine what it would like to be a child who had such a great dad as Eric, and to just lose him for greed.
Why did Eric lose his life? Why did the boys lose their father? Was it because of Kouri's greed and desire to get life insurance and other assets? If so, that is abhorrent.
The death of a loved one is the most traumatic event that a person can face, and young children especially. I mean, just conceptualizing death and understanding their emotions when a parent passes away. So Kouri, allegedly, her husband, she says, unexpectedly died. So she wrote a picture book to help her 3 sons cope with the loss of their father, to better grasp it, to understand it, to grieve. However, the Utah police, they didn't believe this. All right? They believed that Kouri not only exploited her husband's death to garner sympathy and to get some sales for her book, but they believed that she actually orchestrated the entire death herself.
New at 10, this has been a talker all day today. A Summit County woman who wrote a children's book about coping with grief following her husband's death a year ago, now accused of being the one that actually killed him.
That woman is 33-year-old Kouri Ritchins. According to court documents, she is accused of poisoning her husband just weeks after requesting fentanyl from a dealer. Ariel Harrison live tonight in Summit County with this story. Ariel.
Neighbors who are close with the family did not want to go on camera, but shared with me that they are shocked with these accusations, telling me the woman they know would have never done something like this. Now, we've gathered some alarming details from the police documents associated with this case. A big one, the man who died, Eric Ritchins, believed that his wife was trying to poison him. This is the home where police found Eric Ritchins dead on his bedroom floor in March of 2022. According to court documents, Ritchins and his wife Kouri were celebrating a business accomplishment the night he died. Police say Kouri claims she made Eric a Moscow Mule, which he drank in the bedroom. They say Kouri told authorities that she left to help one of their children and returned to the bed several hours later. It was then, they say, she noticed Eric was cold to the touch and called 911. Evidence gathered in the death investigation revealed Kouri claimed she was away from her phone that night and it was left on a charger by her bed. Teams, however, gathered evidence the phone was in use during that time and sent messages had been deleted. Additional evidence showed Kouri was in contact with a drug dealer in Ogden leading up to Eric's death. The legal documents state she received both hydrocodone pills and fentanyl from the dealer, claiming the drugs were intended for a client experiencing back pain. At one point, police say she requested for, quote, the Michael Jackson stuff, asking specifically for fentanyl. Information from the autopsy report determined Eric died from an overdose of fentanyl 5 times the lethal dosage. In March of 2023, Kouri published this children's book, Are You With Me?, written for children coping with loss of a loved one. Now again, neighbors I spoke with who wanted to stay off camera tell me that they stand by Kouri, but admit that the information they've been reading about this case has been very alarming. Ritchins is expected back in court next week. Reporting live in Summit County, Ariel Harrison, KUTV 2 News.
Now, Eric Ritchins had been working as a contractor and frequently needing to go to Home Depot for supplies. He loved to cut up and joke around with the cashiers while he waited for his orders to be ready. The more he went, the more he was checking this beautiful brunette out. Here's one of the girls on the register. Yeah, so anyway, this beautiful brunette cashier, her name was Kouri Darvin. And according to the locals, young men in the town in Utah thought she was one of the prettiest girls in this small town, and she is. Now, Eric had been previously married in his 20s to a woman named Julie, and their divorce was really hard on him financially and emotionally, so he had spent a long time just being single. But at this time, he was ready to try love again. Enough time had passed, he had grieved. So when Kouri accepted his offer for a date, they just clicked, and people said that immediately they were inseparable.
How you introduced Kouri and Eric.
Kouri and Eric, I introduced them at Home Depot. Kouri and I were the contractor checkout girls there for all the contractors coming in, and Eric was a very frequent customer that came in all the time, and he would come in my line all the time because, I was like the mom to all the guys, and he'd kind of look over at Kouri, and I was like, and he just kind of looked over, and I says, go over there and check out with her, so they did. And anyway, they ended up having a date, and everybody was cracking up. Oh, he finally did it, and it was just so cute, and they finally went out, and from then on they were like glued to each other, it was perfect. I thought
It was
just a perfect couple.
They were a fairy tale romance.
Well, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Even though his first marriage with Julie didn't work out, Eric was still able to start his own mansory company from the ground up with his good friend and business partner, Kouri Wright. This company was called C&E Mansory. Now, Eric was an avid outdoorsman. He loved to hunt, and he owned any and everything that had wheels, snowmobiles, and that. It was said to people that you could pretty much count on him for everything. He was a true family man, and he valued family more than anything. So when he met Kouri, he was really excited about the prospect of settling down again. He was ready. He wanted a woman that he could spend the rest of his life with, especially someone so beautiful. Now, Kouri Darden was a bit younger. She was born on April 1st, 1990. She was born to parents Elisa and Ronald Darden. Now, not too much is known about Kouri's childhood, but it seems as though her and her siblings, Ronnie Jr. and Renee and Mindy, were raised primarily by their mama. Because Ronald, their dad, lived in North Carolina and apparently had several DUIs over the years, and, well, he had some charges related to public intoxication. So it's evident that he had somewhat of a drinking problem. Unfortunately, Kouri's father died in 2010 at the ripe age at 57. So unfortunately, he was not able to walk Kouri down the aisle at their wedding, which took place only a few years later. Now, like Eric, Kouri had a very strong work ethic. She had several jobs, and over the years, she even had businesses. Like she had a housekeeping business, she worked at a design company, a hospital, and then the Home Depot, where she met her future husband. Now, while she was working, she also received a bachelor's degree in healthcare administration from Weber University, and then a master's degree in human resources from the Utah State University. Eric and Kouri got engaged, and they were married in 2013. On the day of their wedding, Eric's mother, Linda, presented Kouri with a prenup. And she did this because she didn't want her son to go through what he had went through during the divorce with his first wife, Julie, ever again. Now, this prenup, however, could have been Eric's death sentence. The agreement and the prenup was basically if anything were to ever happen, now just for precautionary measure, if anything were to ever happen, the prenup basically stated that neither Eric or Kouri would have any rights to present or future income assets should they divorce. But if one of them passed away before the other, then that would change. So after the wedding, Eric and Kouri seemed to have the perfect life together. Kouri seemed to have everything. Now, she took after her brother, Ronnie, and started her own real estate company, and she had closed on several luxurious houses in Utah. I mean, Eric's business was doing so phenomenally, she didn't have to work at the Home Depot anymore. She had her own real estate company in which basically, the couple, they would purchase houses for cheap, renovate them, and flip them for a higher profit. Over the course of their 9-year marriage, Kouri and Eric welcomed 3 sons, Carter, Ashton, and Weston, who in 2022 were aged 9, 7, and 5. Now, Eric was said to be an amazing dad, very attentive, because even while he had this multi-million-dollar business, he still coached Little League, basketball, whatever sports his children played. Dad was always there, coaching, going to all of the games. I mean, give me a break. Every woman would love to be in her shoes. But apparently, Eric wasn't really trusting his wife too much. It seems that, according to court documents, 2015 to 2017, Kouri got at least 4 different life insurance policies on her husband without him knowing. In 2020, Eric felt like his wife began to act strange. He and Kouri took a romantic trip to Greece, and she fixed him a drink, and when he got violently sick, he called his sister Amy. He was like, "Oh my God, I think that Kouri was trying to poison me."
Now, there is a suggestion, though, that he had problems with his wife and that he was concerned and that he may have even suggested that he thought she tried to poison him in the past. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. And in fact, he told some family members that if something ever happened to him, to check out her, to make sure that she didn't get away with something. He felt that she was trying to kill him. And in retrospect, appears to have been right.
Friends and family said that he knew that Kouri was doing some sneaky stuff, but he was really in love with her, and he was devoted to his wife and his kids, and he wanted to do anything to make it work. However, as a form of his personal peace of mind, he drew up a new living trust in November, and he did this without telling his wife, and transferred the business in his sister Katie's name and gave her full control. All of this happened in silence. Now, the next 2 years were happy for the family, from the outside at least, looking in, until 2022, when Eric started to become really worried again that his wife may be out to get him. Also, simultaneously, in early 2022, there was a large mansion for sale in the nearby city of Midway. And I mean a mansion, but it was unfinished, right? It had been known as the Grand House, 20,000 square feet, right? I mean, just simply gorgeous. And it sat on a nearly 9 acres of land. Kouri desperately wanted this. I mean, she wanted this, and she wanted it bad. She was willing to purchase it and flip it to make a profit. But Eric was like, first of all, it's $2 million. And then there's another millions of dollars we're going to have to pour in it to get it up to where it could sell. It was just too expensive to him and not worth the investment. But this apparently became a huge point of contention between the couple. Some people say that the property was actually haunted and cursed, because everybody that put their hands to it, somebody ended up dead. The person who started the house ended up dead. Another couple who was in the process of buying the house, one of them ended up dead. And now here we have Kouri and Eric closing on the house, and he ends up dead. Now, in January of that same year, Eric's business partner, Cody, got a notification from their insurance company informing them that Kouri had signed into their account and taken Cody off and made herself the only beneficiary on Eric's policy. When Cody told Eric about the change, they were quickly able to switch it back to the original term, except this time, Eric decided to take Kouri off completely, knowing that something was up. He and Cody were obviously really alarmed that Kouri would do this behind their backs. I mean, I think we all know that if your spouse is secretly tinkering with their partner's life insurance policy, it's never a good sign and a huge red flag. However, Eric, for whatever reason, never confronted Kouri about this, and reportedly had started to consider getting a divorce, but he just kind of wanted to keep things quiet and civil for his boys until he could figure out what to do. However, after confiding in this to his sisters, his concern began to grow. And again, he made Kate the policy holder and the power of attorney of his shares in the business. So now Katie has all types of power. Now, between December 21st and February 2022, court documents state that Kouri had conversations with an acquaintance law enforcement known to have dealings with substances. She asked this friend, who was referred to as CL in the court document, if he had some medication for an investor who was having back problems. And he was like, sure, yeah, So for some reason, all of this was clandestine, So she left the money in a house that she was flipping, and he bought the drugs. Now, about 2 weeks later, Kouri reported contacting this friend again, asking for something stronger. She stated that she wanted some of that Michael Jackson stuff. Kouri spent about $900 to 15 to 30 pills of whatever. Now, 2 days later, on Valentine's Day, Kouri made her husband a sandwich, and she put a little sweet note next to it. But Eric later reported that after he ate the sandwich, he became very ill and later called and told his partner and friend Cody that Kouri had made him a sandwich that after he ate it, he began to break out into highs and feeling like he couldn't breathe. Like this was some type of flashback. He was like, oh my God, is she trying to do this again? This was a flashback of what happened in Greece just a month or two or a couple of years earlier. And he was thinking that, maybe he was being poisoned. So he used one of their son's medication, which is used for an allergic reaction, and took some Benadryl, but then he passed out. Eric told Cody that he felt like Kouri was trying to kill him for his money, and he reportedly talked to his sisters and told them that if anything happened to him, Kouri was to blame. About 2 weeks later, on February 26th, Kouri asked for another supply of this drug. In the meantime, Eric decided to let Kouri have her way, or at least think that she was getting her way, by putting in an offer for that grand estate mansion in Midway, and they were actually under contract with the seller, which means that their offer was accepted. But it was not finalized. And according to Eric's family, Eric was actually going to break it to Kouri that they were not going to buy the house. So I don't know what happened from the time that she thought she was getting the house until the early hours of March 4th. But just days after Kouri's secondary drug purchase, Eric would be pronounced dead. According to Kouri, she and Eric have been celebrating together on the night of March 3rd for the closing of this big estate. At around 9 p.m., she said she went to the kitchen to make him a cocktail. Then she brought it to him to drink. Soon after, Kouri said that one of her sons had woken up from a night terror, and she went to lay in a bed to help him fall back asleep. And she said she ended up falling asleep with her son. So, she woke up around 3 a.m., went back into the bed with Eric. When she got there into the bed, she realized that Eric's body was rather cold and that he wasn't breathing. So she called 911 and reportedly told the operator that she had been attempting CPR. Now, when the paramedics arrived, some reports say that Eric was either at the foot of the bed or on the floor near the foot of the bed. After several failed life-saving measures was attempted, Eric was pronounced officially gone. Now, due to his age, Eric's death had to be investigated, and it was found to have 5 times the fatal amount of a specific drug in his system. The very next day after his death, Kouri had a gathering at that home that she shared with her husband, and reportedly was drinking and celebrating that they had finally closed on that house and they finalized the deal on the estate. Unbelievable. One of Eric's sisters was in attendance. She and Kouri got into an altercation, and it was then that Kouri learned that her husband had altered the will. Kouri became so angry, she literally physically assaulted Katie, and the police ended up having to be called to the residence because of the dispute.
Kouri assaulted me. I will never forget the look in her eyes when she attacked me that Sunday morning. It was early and had been snowing most of the night. I was just getting ready to leave and heading out to the car when I saw a locksmith in Eric's detached garage starting to drill out his gun safe. I asked Kouri multiple times why we could not just call my dad for the code. I could not understand why she was breaking into and ruining Eric's safe. To this, she screamed at me at the top of her lungs, called me some inappropriate things I cannot share with you here, and then told me to get out of her house. It was then that I told her that she could not kick me out of my brother's house. My sister Katie was now the executor of Eric's trust and estate, and just like Eric, She would not want the defendant breaking into his gun safe. Kouri looked at me with pure hatred and rage. I was messing up her plan. I was getting in her way, and because of that, she attacked me. She punched me in the face and neck multiple times. It took 4 people to pull her off me that day.
Kouri was obviously not going to take this new revelation laying down, and so she filed a claim against her husband and his sister, claiming that Eric defrauded her and that he had no right to transfer her shares of his assets as outlined in the prenup without her knowledge. So she's suing for the claims to his estate, since that prenup states that it belongs to her in the event that Eric were to pass away before her. And she also was suing Eric's sister for an additional $300,000 in legal fees.
So now the big question, why? We're going to have somebody on after you who helped put them together when they started dating. And great couple, she was so sweet, smart, loved him. How did this go so sour, and what does the family think?
Well, there's some allegation that, Chris, that she had a paramour, that she had a boyfriend the entire time they were married. Eric was a fairly well-to-do man. She came from a life where she didn't have the same means that she had once she married him. And so there was some hint, or at least some motive there, that there was some financial gain for her by doing this. We don't know why people do this kind of thing. If it was just to get rid of a problem and to inherit and get his house and get all the things that you would get if you were the widow of a fairly well-to-do man. We do know that the circumstantial evidence and even the direct evidence from this drug dealer is that she purchased fentanyl in the days, probably hours before she served it up in this Moscow Mule cocktail to her husband.
This case actually had been widely recognized mostly for the fact that just a few weeks ago, Kouri's book was published and she went on news outlets to promote it and talk about her family story, except for she left out the part where she was the one who allegedly killed her husband, Eric. Her book was called Are You With Me? And Kouri said that she and her sons wrote the book together to help understand their feelings surrounding their father's death and to help them remember that even though Eric isn't physically here anymore in physical form, he is always with them in spirit every day. She said that Eric's death came as a complete shock.
Completely took us all by shock. And we have 3 little boys, 10, 9, and 6. And, my kids and I kind of wrote this book on the different emotions and grieving processes that we've experienced last year. And, hoping that it can kind of help other kids, deal with this and kind of, find happiness some way or another.
And to make sense and process, I'm
Yes.
sure. And I'm sure you felt that going through and trying to explain it and articulate it for you and your boys.
Yes, exactly. And so I've done, I'm new to all of this, so kind of doing research and reading books and things to try and understand, not only how to grieve as a widow, as a wife, but also, with my kids, how to help them understand what just happened. And what I have kind of found is, as I mentioned, it's kind of the 3 C's is how I visualize it. And it's, connection, continuity, and care. And it's, making sure connection is the major one, and making sure that their spirit is always alive in your home, and memories are always brought up, and doing things that your loved ones love to do, whether it's riding bikes or their favorite dinner, and just constantly, talking about them.
And Kouri, do you mention at dinner, here's Dad, or Dad would like this meal, or Dad would, let's bring Dad on a bike ride?
Yeah, exactly. And it's, explaining to my kids, just because he's not present here with us physically, that doesn't mean his presence isn't here with us, and he's doing these things with us. And he's, here for birthdays, and he's here for Christmas, and, and it's just comforting to them to know that, you know, they're not living this life alone. Like, Dad is still here. It's just in a different way, a different version.
Well, I opened up your book, and one of the first pages I saw is a little boy. It looks like he's standing in a hallway at school, and he's saying, "Are you still here?"
Yes. Yeah. And it's, you know, and that was like the first day of school, and, you know, all the nerves that kids face on the first day of school with new, you know, and just hoping, you know, Dad, like, walk with me, like, help me get through today, like, give me the strength to do that. And it has found, you know, it's been a lot of peace for my kids to, you know, to really remember that in the back of their head, that they're never alone, you know.
After the release of her book, it started to quickly make its way to the top of the charts of Amazon and Barnes and Noble. It seems like Kouri was finally getting what she wanted, attention and money, but the police didn't like that, and neither did the family. So on Monday, March 8th, 2023, Kouri Ritchins was arrested and charged with felon first-degree murder of her husband, Eric Ritchins, 3 accounts of possession of a controlled substance and the intent to distribute, and possession of GHB, which is known as the date rape drug. The people in town have stated that Kouri's mom is currently mentally unstable herself, so now they have lost their father and most likely their mother, and for what could possibly have made Kouri want to do this. What do you guys think? And what do you think the motive was for this heinous crime? Was it just greed? Had she been planning this all along? Let me know in the comments below, and I will keep you guys updated, so make sure you are subscribed and hit the like button. God bless.